Hi everyone, welcome to another weekend review. I know I've been taking like crazy hiatuses. It's just the fact that my life, work life, school life has been busy. It's been crazy, but I have some time this weekend because it's a long weekend, so I'm here. So I'm not going to be a disappointment. I promise I try to be consistent as possible, but if life gets hectic, I will let you know and I do like a little short video. So hi to everyone. So let's get into it for COVID numbers because we're still in the midst of a global pandemic, believe it or not. No matter what people tell you. That includes the president. But I digress. So let's get into it. So according to the Johns Hopkins University and Medicine website, Coronavirus Resource Center, there are 673,958,210 global confirmed cases of COVID-19. There are 6,862,598 global deaths from the virus. So people are dead. Over 6 million, close to 7 million people being dead around the world. Here at home, we have 103,123,281 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Keep in mind, we are 4.2% of the world's population, but yet we account for 25% of the cases. And there are 1,117,497 people dead from COVID here at home in the United States. So I'm going to repeat these numbers again, as I always do. There are 673,958,210 global confirmed cases of COVID-19 around the world. There are 6,862,598 people dead from the virus around the world. Here at home, we have 103,123,281 confirmed cases of COVID-19, and we have 1,117,497 people dead from this virus here at home. And according to the vaccination doses, we have 117,611 people that took the vaccine as of yesterday. In total, we have 229.8 million people fully vaccinated here at home in the United States. That is 71% of the country's population. Keep in mind, the president had stated he wanted 70% of people to be vaccinated. That was his goal back in July of 2021. It took to September of 2022 to meet his goal. And honestly, according to Dr. Fauci, the actual goal of people that need to be vaccinated is over 90%. So we're not even at 75. So it's crazy. Yes, it's been a while. It's been a minute. It's been a while. So, but I'm back. I'm here. So, with all of these numbers that I just stated, and I know the president once announced that he wants to do this whole kind of freaking this freaking plan to end COVID. Guess what? Who else has it? What is it? China just had a big outbreak, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna move swiftly. If it comes to Europe, that means our asses are in trouble. But overall, the president's doing a good job, but I feel like with COVID, we're still gonna be in the midst of this shit. Yeah. So to all those folks that want to keep their mask off, that want to, don't want to wear their mask, they tired of COVID, but guess what? COVID is not tired of us. And the death toll just keep rising and rising and rising and rising and rising. We have almost 110 million cases. We at 103 million. It's going to increase. It's almost 1.2 million people dead here at home. Here at home. We almost have 7 million cases around the world, 700 million cases around the world. But here at home, we have over 100 million cases, confirmed cases of COVID, and we have almost 1.2 million people dead. Keep in mind, we are 4.2% of the world's population. Think of that. Yeah, Sky, I know you haven't seen me in a while. Life has been busy. Life has been crazy. And yes, Enrique, we will all wear our masks. I'm going to wear mine. I double mask. So I think y'all see my pictures. I put a surgical on, and then I put the fashionable one to protect my face, because I live in a city that's 8.4 million people and counting, and I take mass transit every day. And I'm in the general public. That's all I'm saying. And I had mass shootings on my thing. So there was another mass shooting in Michigan. There's been series of mass shootings. We had like close to 50 mass shootings, and it's not even March yet. This shows that this country loves guns too much. This country needs to put a regulation on those gun magazines. We need more AR-15. We don't need no more AR-15s, those military-style weapons in anybody's possessions. We need the Brady Bill back, because a certain president let that expire when I was in college, and I know who that president was. The red laws need to be also in effect. I know it's in effect here in New York State, but it needs to be in effect around the country. This gun addiction is a sickness. It is, Joseph, you're correct. It is a sickness. So I just don't understand it. But these same ass people keep voting for the people that love their guns. Like I said, we got some low information ass voters in this country, and it's not black people or people of color. It's not the majority of us, even though there's a small fraction of white adjacency, but that's not even that much. But we already know who the low information voters are, and they are part of the Aryan race. The majority. Get that corrected. But let me get off my diatribe on that. I'm going to focus on the 2024 elections, even though there's small elections this year. There's the Mississippi election, gubernatorial election. There is the Kentucky gubernatorial election, and there's some state elections, some statewide in New Jersey and Virginia. But there's also the 2024 presidential elections just kicked off, the primaries. But before I get into that, I want to read one comment. Republicans say that they save the kids from LGBT being hypocrites. But exactly. We'll get into the Republicans in a minute. The Grand Insurrectionist Party. But, Yep, Kathy, you're absolutely right. So, a certain Republican, standard bearer Republican, named Narata, y'all know who she is. She called herself a brown girl. She tried to compare herself to the vice president. Announced her candidacy. I want to play a clip of that for a quick second. So I'm going to find the clip, and I'm going to see what this thing is. So I want to see her ad.
Divided the town by race. The railroad tracks divided the town by race. I was the proud daughter of Indian immigrants. Not black, not white. I was different. But my mom would always say your job is not to focus on the differences, but the similarities. And my parents reminded me and my siblings every day how blessed we were to live in America. Some look at our past as evidence that America's founding principles are bad. They say the promise of freedom is just made up. Some think our ideas are not just wrong, but racist and evil. Nothing could be further from the truth. I have seen evil. In China, they commit genocide. In Iran, they murder their own people for challenging the government. And when a woman tells you about watching soldiers throw her baby into a fire, it puts things in perspective. Even on our worst day, we are blessed to live in America. I was born and raised in South Carolina, so I have seen the very best of our country. People here threw out the old, tired political establishment and demanded accountability for their tax dollars. Industry reports called us the beast of the Southeast, which I loved. People came by the thousands for fresh starts. Moms and dads held their heads up high. Children learned that it was always
It's a great day in South Carolina.
It's a great day.
It's a great day.
A great day. A great day in South Carolina. We were strong. We were proud. And when evil did come,
Police in South Carolina are looking for a gunman following a shooting at a church in
Several
downtown
victims.
Charleston.
We don't know the severity.
we turned away from fear, toward God, and the values that still make our country the freest and greatest in the world. We must turn in that direction again. Republicans have lost the popular vote in 7 out of the last 8 presidential elections. That has to change. Joe Biden's record is abysmal, but that shouldn't come as a surprise. The Washington establishment has failed us over and over and over again. It's time for a new generation of leadership to rediscover fiscal responsibility, secure our border, and strengthen our country, our pride, and our purpose. Some people look at America and see vulnerability. The socialist left sees an opportunity to rewrite history. China and Russia are on the march. They all think we can be bullied, kicked around. You should know this about me. I don't put up with bullies. And when you kick back, it hurts them more if you're wearing heels. I'm Nikki Haley, and I'm running for president.
I have an issue with Narata, Nikki, Rahonda, can't pronounce the last name. I have a problem with Namarata, Nikki's ad. It's full of falsehoods. She didn't show the video when she talked about Charleston, the Charleston 9 at the church, at Emmanuel's church. She didn't talk about how President Obama came and delivered a word. And talk about the eulogy. No, she didn't. No. She didn't talk about COVID-19, how it impacted the country. She didn't talk about her time and as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, how abysmal she was, and didn't listen to Samantha Powers, her predecessor. No. Or how about she was a short-lived U.S. ambassador and resigned? But she didn't mention her former boss, though. No. But she was right about Republicans losing the popular vote. Oh, yeah. You guys have lost a popular vote in y'all lost a lot. Because nobody fucking likes conservatism. The only reason why some of them have won because of low voter turnout. And some low information voters, the majority of white independent voters, are low information voters. It's the truth. So they keep voting for stupid people like this. that traffics racism, xenophobia, and all of that stuff. So, Narata, well, I should say Nikki Haley, because y'all know y'all get mad when I say like her maiden name and her real name, because that's her real fucking name. She needs to embrace that shit. The vice president embraces hers. The former president Barack Obama embraces his name. She can't embrace hers. I digress. So, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be real. Nikki Haley is never going to be the president of the United States. She's not even going to be the vice president to any of the people that they pick. She's not on no one's list. She's not on no one's list. Okay? And that's just it. Or should I reiterate this again? I'm going to say this again loud for the people in the back. Narata, aka Nikki Haley, will never be elected or never be selected as president of the United States of America. She will not even serve as vice president. Okay? She'll never, ever be considered for the executive office in this country to lead us at that point. I'm just saying. Tim Scott will be chosen over her, and I don't even like his ass at all. Will be chosen over her. Nobody is into her. Nobody's into Elizabeth Cheney or Adam Daniel Kissinger. No one is into them. Their party is no longer. It's a party full of insurrectionists and low-class bums and racists. And I just leave it as that. It's the truth. I hated that ad. It was atrocious. Ugh. And speaking of more 2024 stuff, we have two critical Senate races. We have the California, Senate race, and then we have the Arizona Senate race. So far, there's only two people running. There's Kirsten Leah-Sinema, who is now a registered independent, and then we have Ruben Gallego, who is a Democratic, candidate. However, he got some progressive-leaning people, very far leftist people, which I don't know why. That's a critical mistake, but I'll see how this race plays out because I don't live in Arizona. And in California, you got now that Senator Feinstein has stated that she's not going to run for re-election. I mean, she's 90 years old. What the whole entire fuck? First of all, what are you and Chuck Grassley still doing in your positions? But I digress. So you have Adam Schiff, Katie Porter, and Barbara Lee all running for the seat, which they all serve in the House together currently right now. I don't know. I can't say who I support because I'm staying out of this. Like, I'm staying out of the Arizona race. I'm seeing how this all plays out because I don't live in a state. So I don't want to get mixy involved in other state politics unless it's my own or like New Jersey, which is closer to me. I am not getting involved in politics that is 3,000 miles away from where I live. I will watch, I will pay attention, but I'm not because I don't know the demographics of those states. I know there's not that many black people, especially more so in Arizona than in California. So I cannot say anything. But what I can say is people just need to vote for the candidate who they feel that is going to serve them best. But I want to say this part though. Katie Porter is not an effective lawmaker. So when you're not an effective lawmaker, how would you be an effective senator? You have to pass legislation. And the other two actually have legislation under their belt. So we could take a deep dive into people's records, because I think transparency is important. So if I look at congressional records, because all you have to do is just look at the House of Representatives records, look at how much laws people have passed, let's go to congress.gov. Adam B. Schiff. How many sponsored legislation? So let's see. He had a bill that was recently passed called the Protecting Our Democracy Act. Let's see what else he had passed. He had H.R. 3494 and Damian Paul Nielsen and Matthew Young Pollard Intelligence Authorization Act of Fiscal Years. That was the 116th Congress. Let's see. He has something agreed, which is a resolution to respect whistleblowers' complaints back in August of 2019. Has some more stuff agreed. Let's see. He had the Katie Spec Enhanced DNA Collection Act of 2012 passed in the 112th Congress. He had H.R. 1975 to designate facility of the United States Postal Office, which, yep, that one too. He had the Daniel Peer Freedom Act of the Press of 2009. He had the Child Protection Improvement Act of 2010 passed. He had the Nuclear Forensics and Arbitration Act passed. Also, to grant the Congressional Gold Medal collectively of the 100th infantry of, I think, of a war thing passed. Appointed impeachment managers passed. Agreed to the House. What else he had passed? The Campaign Expenditure Transparency Act passed. So that was a sponsored legislation. We can go to Barbara Lee. Ms. Barbara Lee, who's been in Congress for 26 years. Let's see. Let's look at her sponsored legislation. Let's do this. She had further, in addition, Continuing Appropriations and Extensions Act passed in the last Congress. She has something that passed the House to repeal the Authorization of the use of the military force passed the House, but it didn't get passed, and it did not become law, but it passed the House. Also, Circulating Collectible Coin Redesign Act of 2020 passed. By the way, I'm doing this in real time. I think y'all see it. She had something that passed the House, Assessing Progress in Haiti Act in 2013. She had that pass the House, but didn't make it as become law. She also Assessing Progress in Haiti again passed the House, but it did not become law. Also, she had a resolution agreed to the House recognizing the significance of National Caribbean American Heritage Day. She also has another resolution agreed to the House supporting the goals and ideas of Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Week. She also has another resolution agreed in the House expressing condolences to solidarity of the people of Haiti at the aftermath of the earthquake. She did. Honor the lives of different sergeants in the police department in Oakland. She had a bill that passed the House but never made it to the law. Also, another one back in the 110th Congress. And the Shirley Chisholm Caribbean Exchange Act of 2008 was passed in the House but never made it out, never became a bill. Couple resolutions agreed in the House. Assistance for Orphans and Other Vulnerable Children in Developing Countries Act of 2005. That became law. She has some other couple things agreed in the House, including supporting the goals and ideas of National Black HIV and AIDS Awareness Day. Supporting the goals and ideas of National Passport Month. That was a resolution agreed. So, I just read in real time on congress.gov the accomplishments of Adam Schiff and Barbara Lee. So, to all of those Katie Porter supporters out there, tell me what your girl has passed. How many bills of hers became law. Because I know Adam Schiff and Barbara Lee have more bills that are enacted and was agreed in the House versus Katie Porter. Tell me why she should run for Senate. Because I don't see her being effective as Barbara Lee or Adam Schiff. She doesn't pass anything. She doesn't get anything done but talking down to white men with a whiteboard, or anybody with a whiteboard, with her whiteboard, and making bad political moves. I'm going to say this again. To all of those Katie Porter supporters out there, give me one good reason why your girl should run for Senate when she only has one piece of legislation that has become law out of her tenure being there. And it's not even great legislation. It's renaming a fucking post office. Why she should be running for Senate when the two other folks running for Senate actually has laws, meaningful laws enacted in this country. Please tell me why. Because all she does is talk at people with that goddamn whiteboard and don't get shit done. Couldn't barely win her congressional race in the last election. So why she should run for the whole entire state of California? She's not going to be effective in the Senate. So why? I'm waiting. That was a whole meme right there. No, you're right, Joseph. She barely won her race, and she's like P. And Kathy, you're right. She's like that. And yes, Adam Schiff and Barbara Lee are far more experienced. But all of these nonsense people, this fever dream thing, and this is where I'm going to get into people's ass. These sharpened attacks on the vice president have came in swiftly, right? People just coming after the vice president like a bat out of hell. Let's start off with Christopher James Christie, former New Jersey Republican governor who became a topic of scandal over Bridgegate with the GW, right? He said something like this that gave me pause. And I would just like to play this clip because I was pissed.
If you're voting for, one of the key questions of the 24 race is going to be, if you're voting for Joe Biden, you may be voting for President Kamala Harris too. And how do you feel about that?
You see this come up all the time with presidents. I remember George H.W. Bush. There were questions, will he dump Dan Quayle? In the end, a president cannot dump the person he picked.
I think this is a different situation, George. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we've never had an 82-year-old run for re-election. This starkly puts the vice presidency in focus for people because, there is, just look at the tables, the longevity tables. And if 82 to 86 years old, he's in real risk of not living old.
The other consideration, of course, for Biden and Democrats is, to Susan and Donna's point, there's no real credible threat happening from within the Democratic Party right now. And who is the most powerful constituency within the Democratic Party? Black women. The idea that he would set Kamala Harris, the most powerful black woman in the party, aside would really, I think, anger a lot of people within his own party.
That's the assumption that she is the most powerful black woman in the party. She has the highest position in the party. But when you look at the way the public views her, there are a number of other very qualified African-American women who the president could pick. And all I'm saying is there's going to be that conversation. It's unlikely to happen, George, but because he's going to be 82 years old, that is going to be a much bigger focus than it's ever been.
First of all, I'm so glad you brought up Kamala Harris, because she is probably one of the most undefined human beings. She is incredible. She's standing in her own power. She has been, at every step, helpful to this president and getting his agenda through the United States Congress. And so while her poll numbers may not reflect her true popularity, I can guarantee you Kamala Harris will not be replaced on the party's ticket. And I can also guarantee you, if Joe Biden decides not to run, Kamala Harris will become the next nominee of the Democratic Party. And I don't understand why every time, something goes down, people say, Kamala, she is standing in her power. She's been incredible. She's been indispensable. And she's going to finish.
So, Christopher, gonna say people's government name, Christopher needs to shut the hell up, because Christopher left office 2 terms as New Jersey's governor with the 18% approval rating. One of the worst approval ratings by any governor in modern day history. She's invisible. The vice president is always out and about. If I recall, this is one of the most visible vice presidents since President Biden. And before President Biden, it was no visible vice presidents like around that time besides LBJ when he became president. Like, who has been visible? And even President Biden, when he was visible, you mostly saw him like, if you didn't see him for the, for President Obama's economic recovery thing, but the stimulus, you saw him overseas, but you didn't cover him overseas like that. If anything, Vice President Harris was more visible as a vice president than even Joe Biden was. And Joe Biden was an effective vice president to the first African American vice president. So, a little note to Christopher. Christopher, you may want to keep your mouth shut of saying no one likes the vice president when no one in New Jersey don't respect you and don't fucking like you. And there's a lot of reasons why people don't like you in New Jersey. Because guess who's cleaning up your mess? Governor Phil Murphy. Because you was such a horrid Bridgegate, we still remember that, and you let your people go down and you did not defend them. I don't even know why ABC is giving you a platform, because the only highest office you ever served in was being a governor, and you did a horrid job at that. So the fact that you want to call the vice president invisible and nobody likes her, I think you need to reflect on yourself why you was not picked for the Trump administration. Go ask Jared Kushner. So, and Andrea Mitchell, that's another one. Jesus the Christ. Jesus Christ. That lady irritates my soul. And I retweeted her interview, but here it is.
I think that you are the right person to be on the ticket. Why do you think that?
I think that it is very important to focus on the needs of the American people and not political chatter out of Washington, D.C.
And you obviously ran for president in 2020. You want to be president. Do you still want to be president someday?
Joe Biden has said he intends to run for re-election as president, and I intend to run with him as vice president of the United States.
You were at Tyree Nichols' funeral. You saw the grief. You felt it. You spoke to it eloquently. Is it time for Democrats to compromise on police reform with this Congress, as they did on guns last session?
I think it's time for American leaders to address what we should do to improve this issue. And I, as you know, was a co-author of the original George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And I am a former prosecutor. And I believe that what we have done as an administration within our capacity in terms of the executive branch to deal with federal law enforcement and say no-knock warrants, what we have done to say that there should be body cameras, this kind of approach to policing is something all people want if we value safe communities, including that we have accountability among all people. Let me ask you.
She's touting that white liberal, white moderate, white centrist bullshit. You know, this is going to be a PSA. I'm making a public service announcement. Vice President Kamala Devi Harris is running again with President Joe Biden in 2024. That's it. And if you don't like it, then vote for the other party, because I'm pretty sure half of you were going to do it anyway. Because that black woman is running on that Democratic ticket with that white man. And let me just say this, going back to Christopher and, the Republican Party, those white-leaning voters. I wanted to know if y'all was so concerned about Joe Biden's age. Since y'all so concerned, I want to know why the hell y'all wasn't concerned about Reagan's age back in 1980 and 1984. Ronald Reagan was 69 going on 70 when he ran for president. And he was 73 when he ran for re-election. And I believe he was 78 when he retired. And during his tenure, he had growing cases of Alzheimer's. He had a 60-year-old man, about 58, 60, running with him. Y'all wasn't concerned then. And this man had health issues. Yes, President Biden is going to be 82. But guess what? He's not Ronald Reagan. He doesn't have those problems. He doesn't have a case of Alzheimer's. That's the difference. And he's in his right mind. Because Ronald Reagan sure was not in his motherfucking right mind. Because all that shit he did, you can tell there was loop-de-doop-de-doo. And his wife was running the presidency, who was 10 years his junior. So you Republicans worried about the president's age and worried about the popularity of the vice president. I want to know why y'all kept voting for old ass people in y'all party. Y'all voted for Ronald Reagan. The only young person you voted for was what? Bush Jr.? Because Bush Sr. was in his 60s. The bum was in his 70s. Y'all voted for old people. Y'all the party of old people. Old ass low information voters. Well, old white low information voters at that. The majority. So, to Republicans that have a problem, once again, with the president's age and the vice president's popularity, ask yourself why y'all kept voting for old people in modern day history, starting with Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and that bum, the name that we don't mention. And just overall, to all the haters out there, and it's one particular hater. Vice President Harris is not the person that hurt you. She's not the person that, that took your man. She didn't take your money. She didn't do anything to you. I don't understand why people have a problem with. She's like, she needs to stand up for, the water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi. Let me tell you something. You take that shit up with Governor Tate Reeves, the governor illiterate dude. Yeah, the guy that can't read on a 6th grade level. Him. You take that shit up with him. But just to make it plain, Vice President Harris is not the person that hurt you. She's not the person that took your man. She didn't take your money. She didn't ruin your life. All she is doing is serving the country. And for the folks who keep inserting themselves in issues saying why she attended Tyre Nichols' funeral, all of a sudden she's trying to have her black card, Tyreek Nasheed, D.L. this girl, wherever she has a "thee" in her name. Why you mention her about the Jackson water crisis when you could have taken that shit up with Governor Tate Reeves? Like, I don't understand people, but Vice President Harris is here to stay. If you got a problem, you can suck a dick. And I probably can't say that on the internet. But Vice President Harris is running, period. Point blank. End of story. So until then, folks, I just want to leave this. 2024 is going to be a very hectic presidential year. It's going to be a year of misinformation, slander, and all of that good stuff. All of that bad stuff, unfortunately. It's important as voters that we educate ourselves and we do our research before making decisions on who are we supporting. I know I'm supporting the Biden and Harris ticket of 2024 because that is the ticket that is currently doing the best they can to repair all the damage that has been done by the previous administration, right? I'm voting for the ticket that has receipts on fixing all the things that's been happening and trying to improve this country and trying to make it better. Right? So I'm voting for that ticket. I'm not telling people who to vote for, but I'm saying make the right decision before you cast your vote and before you say who you're supporting. Because there's a lot of things that's going to happen during this election. There's going to be a lot of election interference, and we have to stay vigilant and we have to stay informed with the right source of news, your primary sources, not secondary, not third and beyond. We have to be vigilant. So until then, folks, have a wonderful night.